Thank you for watching another live edition of the East West Football Podcast. I am Fidel Barraza. Alongside with me, Jerry Martinez, Walter Stringer. How you guys doing?
Wonderful on this Saturday.
Yeah, getting ready for that Memorial Day. Well, enjoying this Memorial Day weekend, right? So,
Yeah, and today we're going to kick off our division reviews. We're going to start off with the NFC South. And let's start off by talking about the Atlanta Falcons. So, obviously, very disappointed season last year. New head coach and Arthur Smith, new GM as well. Matt Ryan's still there. They drafted Kyle Pitts third overall in this year's draft. Let's start off with Jerry. What do you think of their offseason moves?
oh man, I think the Falcons are kind of a little bit all over the place right now. I just think that it, when you look at it, they were in a very tough situation, and still right now when we look at it, Julio Jones. I mean, what are the reports? Probably this up and coming week he'll be traded away. So, I understand the acquisition that they were able to get this in the offseason, and the biggest name of all was Cal Pitts, right? But I mean, when we look at the actual division and we see they were in a tough situation. They were really in a tough situation. They have to compete with the Super Bowl defending champ, right? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the biggest takeaway from it is they had to just kind of pick up and just go. They couldn't rebuild. They couldn't do anything. They were kind of stuck right there where they're trying to give their fans some hope, right? That they're still trying to fight to be competitive in the actual NFC South.
Well,
Well, personally, I think it's pretty much obvious that they're moving in that slow transition, the uneasy transition, because you still want to pay the utmost respect to Matt Ryan, who has been the rock for that franchise and took over for that franchise. It was very highly successful in a very tough and trying time right after the Michael Vick situation and everything, when that team and that organization needed some serious light and some serious success. But it's obvious, if you look at what's going on, I think the writing was on the wall that Kyle Pitts didn't want to be there anymore. I mean, not Kyle Pitts, Julio. Julio Jones did not want to be there anymore. I believe they knew that prior to the draft, and they felt, hey, you know what? Jamar Chase was a solid option. Waddle, Devontae Smith, Penei Sewell. But I think Kyle Pitts for them provided the most value for that pick at number 4, given the fact that Julio pretty much was on his way out. He had pretty much shown them he was on his way out with everything he said. I think also Calvin Ridley. Everything is pretty much based around the new core, which is Calvin Ridley. Hopefully, AJ Terrell builds on a pretty up and down rookie season, but he showed a lot of promise. Um, Second round pick, your favorite safety, one of my favorite safeties, also in Richie Grant,
Yep.
who can play pretty much everything from in the box to high cover one. Also, Jalen Mayfield is going to be the wild card for them. If Mayfield turns out to be a steal for them and can be that left tackle or more than likely right tackle for them, at worst case scenario guard for them, I think that'll be excellent. That would make this entire draft for them all worth it.
a couple of key offseason acquisitions and free agency. One of them being running back kick returner Cordell Patterson.
Mhm.
He also lines up at wide receiver. And then also running back Mike Davis from the Carolina Panthers. I think he's going to
Yep.
play a very important part in this offense coming in here in a couple months.
I still don't agree with the Falcons. I mean, when you're picking fourth for a reason, I think that right there you look at it, Justin Fields was available and you passed him for Cal Pitts. I just think that this is a bad move. I think it's gonna bite them in the butt in the long run. The Bears look like geniuses in this entire situation, but we're not in that division yet. So I just think that the Falcons kind of blew a big opportunity to have the future already set up. I mean, Justin Fields would not have been in a situation where he had to start. Matt Ryan has showed that he's durable. He could have learned a little bit behind Matt Ryan. And like what you did, like, add those key pieces, the offensive line that you need, secure the bag. I'll tell you this, Kyle Pitts, Kyle Pitts, he did great in college, but if we've seen anything, Matt Ryan has had a hard time getting the ball to his tight end. So unless they're gonna do something exotic, even Tennessee Titans, right? Like we got to talk about the Titans, right? Because the Titans, and their offense that was the highlight of the offense, the tight end position?
No,
I'll ask both of you. And the reason
no.
why we're talking about the Titans is because that's who Arthur Smith was, right? He was
And they
the
had a good tight end, a good
Yeah.
They did.
tight end.
they did, and he was the offense. The reason why I'm talking about him is because he's the offensive coordinator. So that tight end was never highlighted. So obviously they're gonna have to use Kyle Pitts in a wide receiver position. He can be a wide receiver, I think. It's just at that position, at that opportunity, why not go ahead and just take the opportunity with Justin Fields? I think they blew a big opportunity for the building block for the future.
Well, also I think Russell Gage is his development for them is going to be huge as well.
Oh yeah, he showed
No.
up last year. He had some big games too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I see what they're doing. Mike Davis, he's a fire hydrant. They're gonna line him up in that I form. They're gonna do a lot with him. But I think for what's gonna be missing, they're gonna really realize how much Julio helped out everything in that offense, man. And not in all due respect to Calvin Ridley, Calvin is a very good receiver. He's not Julio Jones, and it's going to be rough. I just think, I mean, I agree 100% with you, Jerry. I think Atlanta, for lack of a better phrase, they're hustling backwards.
Yeah.
And they really don't understand. They don't have a direction of where they really want to go. And when you're bringing in a brand new head coach, first-time head coach, and the picks are all over the place, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. If Fields was on the board at 4, I would have taken Fields.
Yeah, I mean, you're thinking about it's a new regime coming into Atlanta, so you want your quarterback, right? I mean, that's going to be your centerpiece for your franchise for the next 4 to 5 years.
You don't know when you're going to be picking this high again.
Yeah,
Exactly, and that was the other thing that we had talked about too. Is if you're the Falcons, I mean, are you really going to be? Are you projected to be so bad next year that you're drafting? Well, they might be, but we don't know, right? They still got to play ball.
It just shows you when you have a strong team in that division, they can really persuade you to kind of abandon ship and get off of your game plan and your team building, right? Because you're trying to keep up with the Joneses, right? And it's unfortunate because they had a golden opportunity to start fresh and start to rebuild towards the future without disrespecting any of their players. I just think it was a great opportunity, and they blew it, man. But it just shows, you want to keep up with the Buccaneers, well, then you're gonna have to add star power.
That's the problem. I think every GM, team owner, head coach, everyone has to be completely in tune with what you are. If we stink, we stink. If we're great, we're not great. We're good. Because you can never call yourself great. But, you have to be in tune with what you are. And the Falcons, they may feel, okay, you know what, in 17-game season, extra playoff spot, anything can happen. No, it can't.
Yeah.
If not when it comes to Tampa. The only, and we're going to actually get to Tampa in a little while, but you have to be in tune with what you are, and you cannot think you're better than what you are. Because you wind up chasing dreams that aren't really there, and the next thing you know, Matt Ryan's hurt.
Yeah.
And then, you lose all trade value with him.
Well, one player we know that's not going to be with the Atlanta Falcons next season is going to be Julio Jones. Last week on Undisputed on FS1, Shannon Sharp called Julio Jones and put him on speaker. Now, if he knew he was going to be on TV or didn't, I mean, that's up to you to decide. I think he did know. But pretty much he said, I do not want to be a Falcon anymore. He was looking to be traded. And I think we're going to see a trade here happen very soon. Atlanta was holding off for a first-round draft pick, but I think the highest they're going to get might be a second. But there is a team out there, speculation saying it might be the Rams that's offering a future first-round pick.
Man, the Rams just don't want a first-round pick, do they? Right? I just think it's.
How do they even have any? How do you have any more first-round picks? You gave them all away already.
Man, it feels like they're trying to turn this thing into the NBA. The NBA type.
They like Boston. I don't get it. Like, it's at some point in time, team building has to come into play. At some point in time, you can't just keep chasing stars, man. And if you look at that team right now, this is why I honestly don't believe they're going anywhere. They're too top heavy. The Rams are completely too top heavy, and they lost too much depth.
Well said.
With quality players.
All right. Well, I think we'll find out, what team Julio is going to be traded here, in the next 10 days. So let's move on to the Carolina Panthers. Obviously, new starting quarterback in town as they traded for Sam Darnold of the New York Jets. Teddy Bridgewater is now a Denver Bronco. Gentlemen, let's talk about the Carolina Panthers. Jerry.
Man, I love this, man. This is team building 101, man. Like, wow. I mean, the Panthers are a team to definitely watch out for. Now, I know it's gonna take some time to gel because you're talking about a young team, and you like you said, you brought in Sam Darnold. You didn't spend a lot of draft capital to get him either. I think it's a fifth rounder that could escalate to I believe it's a fourth round draft pick. So it's crazy when you see and you read behind the lines and you do your research, right? You see that the Matt Rule was when everybody was all signs pointed that Matt Rule was going to be the Jets' new head coach. The only reason he wanted to take on that job was to work with Sam Darnold because he liked something in Sam Darnold. And apparently they would spend Zoom meetings like 2 hours long just talking X and O's. And I think it's kind of unique that he was able to bring him in and make him a Carolina Panther. And like you said, I mean, he kind of he didn't spend too much time with the whole situation. As soon as he got his quarterback, he moved on. They moved away from Cam, and you saw last year that, man, they came away with some good games, some tough losses. But let's look at their draft picks, man. J.C. Horn. I mean,
Mhm.
that was a big shocker right there. They got J.C. Horn, right, son of Joe Horn, the wide receiver for the Saints previously. They got Terrace Marshall, who I thought he was going to be a first round pick. I mean, this guy is huge. I mean, tall, fast, and can high point. I mean, he's special with the ball. Brady Christensen, who was an ascending offensive tackle towards the back end. People started liking his game a lot from BYU. He was there protecting Zach Wilson's blind spot. Blind spot. They got Chuba Hubbard from Oklahoma State, a very super talented running back. They also kept on adding depth, man. They added Davion Nixon,
Mhm.
who I thought I was very high on Davion Nixon out of Iowa, defensive tackle. I think he's a perfect three technique, kind of like what you would like to see on that defensive tackle. Add him with last year's pass rusher, defensive tackle. What's his name? Out of Auburn.
Derek Brown.
Derek Brown.
Mhm.
Man, that defensive line is going to be stacked, and they're gonna really really attack. They're gonna be able to get the right pressure up the middle of the offenses. So, I mean, just look at it. We go down Keith Taylor, Deontay Brown out of Alabama, the offensive guard, Shai Smith, wide receiver out of South Carolina. That this team right here, this is exactly what team building should look like. You build through the draft, and you fill in free agency, and you pick and choose who you can bring in that fits who fits your team, your team model.
Yeah, I agree 100% as far as the draft. They managed to add multiple playmakers at positions that they already had some strengths at anyway. Jeremy Chen had a huge rookie season for them
He
last
did.
year. He's a weapon. Whether you have him on the back end or you decide to bring him up into the front four and the front seven, which a lot of times they do, they will bring him up into the box. J.C. Horn is excellent in man coverage. I think they have big plans for what they can do with him. If he can go ahead and develop, the talent is there. If you look at the size, the speed, he's got those dude numbers and those dude measurables when it comes to a corner that everyone's looking for. So if everything goes according to plan, J.C. Horn should be a stud. And I think having that number one alpha guy on the outside who can lock down one half of the field is very, very important. Jalen Ramsey still shows us consistently how important that is, even with the Rams defense. Who else? Brady Christensen had added depth guard. They were
Uh,
able to bring in Deontay Brown, also, as you mentioned, guy who I was a pretty big fan of. I know a lot of people are kind of scared of his weight.
because he's a big boy.
Yeah, he's a big boy, but he's solid. He's a rock, and his weight, at least for what Nick Saban has said at Alabama, has never been an issue for him as far as conditioning and with the way he plays. Also, Tony Trimble. Trimble is a guy who could turn out to be a steal. I know some guys in the network were really high on him.
Well,
I
yeah.
wasn't as high. But if guys like these guys turn out to be steals later on in the draft and they manage to hit on those top guys, like this was a huge historical draft because guys like Derrick Brown. Derrick Brown he started out kind of rough the first few games of the season. He came on middle part of the season, finished strong. He shows a lot of promise, and I think putting Davion Nixon right next to him, those guys are kind of built very similar as well, and they're pretty much both power rushers. So Yatura Gross Matos, he's gonna have another year. I think they're exclusively moving in the right direction. Everything comes down to, is Sam Darnold the guy? Is he gonna prove the New York Jets wrong, or is he broken and no one's ever was he ever as good as people thought he was? Is he broken? Is anyone gonna be able to fix him? How far this team goes, because it seems like they've got the head is right and the body parts are all moving together in the right direction. They just need the right guy under center.
Well said, man. Well said.
And let's not forget Christian McCaffrey is coming back from an injury. I mean, he barely played, so we already know what he can do. Sam Darnold's going to have that connection again with Robbie Anderson, former teammate in the New York Jets. The Carolina Panthers are one of the most interesting teams in football, if you ask me.
Oh yeah,
So,
man. It starts with, like I said, it starts with a head coach, man. The guy just he's just doing football the way he believes is the right way. And damn, man, down the line, the Panthers are gonna be a team to reckon with.
all right, let's move on to the New Orleans Saints. So, Drew Brees, quarterback of that team, is no longer on there, retired, is now working for NBC Sports. So, in comes in former starting quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Jameis Winston. So this offense is going to look, to me, it's going to look a lot more different than what we're used to seeing it for, at least from last year, right? Jared, what'd you think of their offseason moves?
Oh man, it was tough, man. Look, I'll say this. I will say this: the Saints, regardless of Drew Brees playing or not, they have a great they have a one of the better rosters and the actual in the entire NFL, right? They had the right firepower. I mean, Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas, those two players help you leverage that offense, that the offense so much in so many ways because they've added so much depth over the years to the offensive line. So regardless of who you have playing at quarterback, that running game is going to be able to go. Michael Thomas is that type of wide receiver that could just take a small slant route and take it to the house because he's just a dog, right? And then, of course, on the defense, you still got some stud players on the defense. I think the one of the biggest concerns was with the defensive back, and of course, I mean, nothing's final, but the uncertainty and not knowing what you're going to be able to do. But I think all indications right now is that it looks like Jameis Winston's gonna be your starter, and when he struggles, you got Taysom Hill. So I think right now, overall, when let's look at some of their draft picks and some of their offseason moves. Right, they added Peyton Turner to the defensive line. Cameron Jordan has been there for quite some time. He's been a great professional. He's put up some great numbers. He's had great seasons, but he's at the back end of his career, I guess. And Peyton Turner's kind of, I guess they're going to groom him in and maybe make him a situational pass rusher. Pete Werner out of Ohio State, man, I like his game. I think that's what they're missing was an actual linebacker in their defense, and then Paulson Adebo. So not knowing if what's going to happen with your corner, if you're able to keep your corner and keep Paulson Adebo, dang, they were able to help themselves out for the long term. They added Ian Book and whatnot. Now, I'm not saying Ian Book can or cannot be an NFL quarterback. Ian Book has showed us playing at Notre Dame that he's something special. So when you look at it, I think the Saints overall their roster was loaded to begin with, and all they were able to do is add some more key pieces to positions, and I think that this team is going to be right there, still competing to try to win that division. So I haven't counted them out. They're one of the strong teams in this division for sure.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I'm not sure how far this team can go. long run wise, but they have a damn good head coach for sure, and they have a roster full of good players at the right position. So when you have that combination, you can always win 8, 9, 10, 11 games during the regular season, because you have a quality roster and you have a good X's and O's guy. It's just rough for them because, we don't know what Jameis Winston is going to return as. It's obvious, I believe, because they went defense with those first 3 picks. Peyton Turner in the first round. They went with Pete Warner in the second from Ohio State.
You
And, of
like
course,
him, right?
Paulson Adebo, who I thought had late first round talent, who fell down to the third. So it's obvious that, they're going to play tough, hard in those defense. They're going to run the ball with Alvin Kamara and company. That's still a good offensive line. They still got some quality players up front. So I'm not really too worried about the Saints as far as the regular season. I think they probably will still be the second best team in that division unless Carolina just takes massive steps. I think there's still growing pains, and there's steps to all of this for Carolina. I think Carolina has to feel a little pain. They have to get burned a couple of times before they're really ready to compete with maybe a Tampa and the Saints. So
I think this offense is going to look better than what it did last year, just because they had some. Michael Thomas is pretty much hurt throughout the whole year. Drew Brees was hurt, but I mean, he really couldn't get the ball downfield anymore. And I understand that offense, it's not what they did, but that can be another element that that Jameis brings in there. So to me, I'm very optimistic. And Jameis Winston, I've been saying it here for a little bit, and I think the New Orleans Saints they're going to be just fine without Drew Brees.
Yeah, man. I mean, and I feel bad for Jameis, man. People were just dogging him all last year. I mean, he looks like he's lost weight. He looks like he's in good shape. We saw him doing some unorthodox stances as far as trying to, like, I don't know, him throwing the ball. Man, what I saw a young man that understood he needed to work on his game, and man, he did. It's just unfortunate, man. Why did they have to dog him like that? You know what I mean? I know he put himself in
Well,
a situation.
yeah, I mean, when you start like eating W's or whatever the hell he did one time when they played against New Orleans, like then at that point, people are going to question you. The other thing too that people forget is that Jameis did have last offseason laser eye surgery.
That's true.
So,
That's also true.
so I mean, we'll see if that makes a difference. I think 1 year on the bench that kind of humbled him to be a better football player, to be a better quarterback, a better leader. And to me, with the whole offseason, they didn't really go after a quarterback, not even like in the draft either. That tells me that they have full confidence in Jameis Winston.
Well, they got Ian Book, but still, it'd be kind of hard, right? I don't know if he'll make the practice. Maybe he'll be a practice squad guy. I don't know, man. We see some
he
crazy
seems
things.
like the type of guy that a head coach would love.
Well, I was gonna say, what I like about his game is that even though he's 5'11",
he improvises well and he
I was
gets
gonna
rid of the
say
ball quick. He doesn't make stupid decisions. So there's space for him. He's not. He's not the biggest guy, but there's some good things to like about Ian Book.
I was gonna say that was one thing that is that he can play on the fly. Like he literally, you could just throw him out in any situation, and he'll get you a couple of touchdowns.
You can trust.
And we know he was coached hard by Brian Kelly as well.
Yeah,
he's one of those guys. Like, he looks like that prototypical NFL guy who sticks around for a long time.
That's what I'm saying. You never know. He could probably be a backup in the NFL. I'm just saying that right now.
I think Jameis is going to have a bigger year than what everyone is saying. So we'll see.
I think I think that would be a great storyline, man, to see if Jameson can actually lead this team and actually get over the hump, get into the playoffs, and even if he loses in a close game in the playoffs, man, I think all those memes and everything that people are making fun of him, all that will turn around and they'll start taking him serious, and that's his confidence can sway in the right direction.
He's gonna have to do it because he had a very talented team over in Florida.
Yeah, he did
a couple years ago, and he wasn't able to get them over the hump. So
maybe Jameis Winston next year wins comeback player of the year. Maybe we'll see.
You never know, man. This is a crazy. 2020s are crazy years, man. So we'll see, man.
Well, man, people forget this guy was a national champion. He's got some very impressive stats.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a lot of interception too, and that's why people forget about Jameis Winston like that. But we'll see. All right, moving along to the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, offseason moves, they just re-signed everyone. They're going to run it back. Or no, hold on. He didn't say. Bruce Arians said no. We're not saying they run it back, right? We're gonna win it again because
That's what
that
he
was
did say.
Kansas City.
He did
You know
say
what he
that.
said after that. So
He said it with a Bud Light in his hand too.
You sure it was light?
hey, wouldn't you guys love to play for Bruce Arians? It looks like he's so chill, so
I,
relaxed.
I
I
like.
said that numerous times, man. Bruce reminds me he's that high school coach who's just extra hard on you and extra jerkish on you, but he's still fair.
Yeah.
You know, one of my favorite moments, well, this offseason, so when they did the boat parade, was when he was talking on the mic and Vita Vea dumped a bunch of cold water on him. He said, "Vita, I'm gonna kick your ass." He kind of walked up. So,
After I'm
but
done reading to these children.
yeah. All right, but let's talk about the Super Bowl champions. Again, they just re-signed everyone, and
Yep.
they actually added a couple key pieces in the draft and in free agency. So let's start off with Jerry.
Man, it's hard to I'm not gonna bet again. I am not betting against the Bucks, man. I think that Tom Brady proved me wrong last season, right? I think he proved me absolutely wrong. I think that age is but a number in his eyes, which I think is amazing. It's a great story. I can't wait to read the book when he decides to retire at the age of 50. But I'm still not gonna bank against the Buccaneers. And like you said, they brought back the team. Nothing changed. Let's just keep on moving. Let's win another championship. Now I know it's not that easy, but the Bucks made it look that dang easy last season. So when we're talking about a team getting ready for a championship, a championship season, I think it's easy to say the Buccaneers are ready for a back-to-back championship season. Is it possible? It's very possible, especially with Tom Brady, one of the greatest. Well, and I say this absolutely. I mean, I understand he's already the GOAT, right? The greatest of
Yeah.
all time playing that position. But I think one thing that Tom Brady he is one of the greatest situational football players of all time, man. He is completely aware. He understands time management, 2 minute offense. He understands the whole thing, and he knows how to line up everybody and get them. I mean, he's a true leader. He knows how to line up his offense, get them ready. He knows how to get his defense hyped up when he needs to. I mean, he just understands. He's truly, truly aware of the situation. So that's the one thing that you got to fear when you're going against Tom Brady. How can you outsmart him? Preparation obviously means everything. And if there's anything that we can learn or take away from ourselves, or maybe for ourselves, is maybe implement some of his preparation, right? That he does, and look at what he does. Maybe our lives can change too, right? You never know, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think also another thing is the fact that he's a master of, okay, playtime is over. It's time to go win this. You compare him smallly to, maybe LeBron James in the NBA, in the sense that any team LeBron James is on during the regular season may have its peaks and valleys, its waves, its down points, but when that ball goes up in playoff time, it's time to go win that O'Brien trophy. There's no playing around anymore. So it's going to be hard to take down Tampa. The only reason I say it's going to be rough also is the fact that if we look at Kansas City, everyone said the same exact thing about the Chiefs after they beat the 49ers. Everyone assumed they were going to go right back, and they did go right back. But the Chiefs never really looked right to me last season throughout the regular season. They never did. They were flying too close to the sun with too many bad teams and too many questionable teams that they should have just went out and just beaten. And they were, like I said, they were flying too close to the sun. They managed to get past everyone, and when they got to the NFC Championship, they ran into a buzzsaw. So the only thing I could really see slowing Tampa down is injuries, and you can't predict injuries on the offensive line or Tom Brady or Mike Evans or anyone, because I think they're so deep that if they did miss one of those guys, those key guys, Tampa could still, I believe, get there.
Let's talk about that, right? Because we didn't mention the names they brought in. They brought in Joe Tryon, right? Extremely
Luxury.
talented. Yeah, he was extremely sought out edge rusher out of Washington. They got Jalen Durden. I know a lot of people were very high on him.
Yep.
Robert Hainsey. I just adding depth to their offensive line. So from when like I think you said it perfect, right? You said what did you say? They added that. I mean, they even added Kyle Trask, the quarterback out of Florida. So we look at this team, I mean, it's very interesting. They really reloaded and they added a lot of luxury. It wasn't luxury, but they added a good depth.
Yes.
So like you said, when you said if there's an injury that happens, right? If there's an injury that happens, you have this player that can step in, maybe possibly, play whatever 2-3 weeks if you need him to, and they'll be right there at the end of the year.
And then also too, let's not forget OJ Howard had torn his ACL last year. He's going to be back on the team. Former running back for the Cincinnati Bengals, Giovanni Bernard, is now on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. So I mean, to me, Tampa has a very good chance to run this thing back. Tom's going to be 44 in August. Age is really not showing it. I mean, it did a little bit, but last year he had major knee issues that we did not know of. He had surgery a couple months back. He looks like he's going to be ready for training camp. So look, I'm just saying, Tom with no off season and Tom with the season, I think they're going to be a lot better next year.
How much better? I mean, they still won the Super Bowl. I mean,
I think they have a chance to be very, very, very good.
17-0 good?
I don't know.
No.
I'm not going to say that, but I would put the over for them to win 15 games.
You got to stack them up against that. What other NFC team really did good as far as revamping their teams or maybe adding depth? And
almost everybody.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying there's some teams that just didn't.
And there's one team that we don't even know who the quarterback's if the quarterback is going to be there next year. Green Bay, which was the biggest threat.
That's what I was going to say. The biggest threat is probably the Packers, and shoot. But I mean, I know a lot of teams got better, but do you really
maybe
think
someone from the NFC West? Maybe.
Time will tell.
We don't know how. Hopefully,
the Rams.
That next step. Kyle has got a ton of weapons.
Look,
they make
did the Seahawks help themselves out in any way during the offseason, and you guys are gonna have to wait until we get to that division to talk about that. So, for right now, the Buccaneers are, a highly favored team to be able to run it back and maybe even possibly get a back-to-back championship. So, we'll see, guys.
Yeah. All right. So let's rank these teams worst to best. Start out with the last team. Start out with Jerry.
Ooh, worst to best. Okay, so right now the worst team I and it's hard, man. I don't think anybody's the worst, but a team that I would kind of put at the back end right now, I'm gonna have to put the Falcons at the back end. I'm sorry. I know that Matt Ryan's still there, but they had a terrible season last year with all the starters they had. I don't think bringing in a head coach and a new GM is gonna fix that unless you're a head coach like maybe perhaps Pete Carroll, who is a raw kind of guy, right? That can get his team motivated. So give me the Falcons at 4. I'm gonna go ahead and go. Man, this is a tough one. I would go 2A, 2B. It would be Panthers 2B, and then Saints 2A, and of course the Buccaneers 1. Clearly for me.
Yeah.
So there was no 3. There was no 3.
Yeah, I pretty much got it the same. I think the Falcons, they're going to be able to score points. They always had the ability to score points as long as they can protect Matt Ryan. Problem is they have too many gaps. And I think when you lose both safeties in one offseason, and as high as we are on Richie Grant, Richie is still a rookie. And Richie's going to suffer some growing pains.
Ooh.
You look at Keanu Neal. Keanu Neal was a rock for that secondary for a long time. I think he's going to help Dallas out a lot. But, the Falcons just lost too much. They lost too much. They've got a brand new head coach who I'm not sure about. And it's just they're losing Julio Jones more than likely. They've got an aging veteran quarterback who they seem to be struggling with trying to cut ties with. So, I've got them as the worst team in that division at 4.
Wow,
Third,
they got Thank
Yes.
goodness, man. I don't have to take this bullet by myself.
No. You know, it's funny with Carolina because Carolina looks like one of those teams that can catch lightning in a bottle.
They are, man.
And they could win 10, 11, 12 games this season. Like that roster, from what it was when Cam was there, with the whole what's the kid's name? The backup quarterback, Kyle Allen.
Oh, yeah.
For what that team looked like there compared to what it looks like now. And I think, the head coach, Matt Rule, he's one of the former college head coaches I believe is doing it the right way. He's not going out drafting only his guys, his ex-guys from college. I think college coaches can be a huge benefit to the league if they can let go of some of their biases. Everybody likes to hire their my guy, or they want to draft my guy or my guy. If you go out and you realize there's talent in all these other colleges across America, you bring the right talent in, you have a roster that looks like Carolina's that's been turned around in less than 2 years. So Carolina could easily be battling it out with the Saints.
That's why
Easily.
2A 2B, man.
Yep, and the Saints get the benefit of the doubt for me because they're a regular season team that, like I said, they got a great head coach and they've got a very solid roster and they've got a good offensive line. So that there normally is good enough at least 10 wins, maybe 11 wins.
And they have every year every season they come in, they already have that expectation that they're going to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, and Paulson Adebo is their type of corner. He's a big physical man cover corner, and he's got really good ball skills. So the Saints know how to draft. So I think if anybody who still has questions about Paulson Adebo, I don't understand why he slipped as far as he did, but hey, maybe it was just that deep of a draft. But Adebo, I believe, could turn out to be a major steal for them, pairing him with Marshawn Lattimore. Saints can still be very good, very good. I'm not sure if they'll be Tampa good, but, of course, Tampa, to us, all of us, we can all agree Tampa is that number one team in that division, probably the number one team in the NFC, and barring injury, Tampa should be going straight back.
I'm going to go with the Falcons, Panthers, Saints, Buccaneers. Simple as that.
Yeah. You didn't complicate anything on that one. But
see that? All of us have brains. We're not just arguing for the sake of arguing.
Now I will say the
Falcons first.
Now, yeah. So I will say the last year I did predict Tampa Bay to go to the Super Bowl and win it.
Yeah.
And since we're talking about the Bucks, I'm going to go ahead and stay with my prediction for this season coming up. I think the Bucks are going to go back and they will beat someone, maybe the Chiefs, in the Super Bowl this coming season.
I ain't jumping.
May 29, 2021, I predict Tampa Bay Buccaneers win Super Bowl 50. What is it? 56?
Yeah.
57?
I give you props for trying to make the show enticing, right? Given the early Super Bowl predictions, but
we got to give the people what they want, man. That's it.
Well, I thought we did that, man, by highlighting that this is a very strong division still.
Yes, a very strong division. Obviously, let me throw a curveball to you guys real quick. Give me one bold prediction for this division.
Dang, that's a great one
for
man.
One team or a player.
Doesn't matter. Just say one of these teams. Just a bold prediction.
Man, Panthers just barely missed the playoffs, and of course Bucks and Saints are make it into playoffs, and the Panthers just barely missed the playoffs this year.
Ooh, it's rough. It's rough. I don't want to just make up something, but
why not?
I'm going to lean on something I've been thinking about the last couple of days.
Okay,
let's hear it.
All right,
and I think it could possibly be Kyle Pitts. And Kyle Pitts could possibly lead not just the NFC, but I think Pitts could lead the NFL in targets.
Wow.
This year.
I think I heard you
saying touchdowns.
This. I think I heard you saying this actually.
Because listen, I'm not the biggest Matt Ryan guy, but Matt Ryan is still very capable when he's got an offensive line.
Well, I
Again,
don't know,
Matt Ryan
man.
has an offensive line, and he's got Calvin Ridley, and he's got
I, I
Kyle
was
Pitts.
I was gonna say last year he was putting Calvin Ridley to work last year. I
Yes,
mean,
he
Calvin
put
really
Russell
looked.
Gage to work.
Yeah,
Gage,
Calvin
yeah.
really put up like what 3 touchdowns in 2 different games, I think it
Yeah.
was. So it's kind of tough, but yeah, man. I mean, you got to use Kyle Pitts, man. You drafted him that high, you got to use him, man. So
Mhm.
yeah, I can see those targets coming this way, and I think that's actually a good prediction to make.
All right, you guys ready for my bold prediction?
Let's hear it.
The Atlanta Falcons will make the playoffs next year.
Oh shoot!
Oh man,
So you're kind of like me, but you went with I went Panthers. You said Falcons.
I think Mike Davis is going to rush over 1,000 yards. He's going to have a big year for the Atlanta Falcons.
Man, he really researched his career last year with the Panthers, man.
He did. Yeah, I mean, look, Christian McCaffrey, one of the best running backs in the NFL, but Mike Davis, did help the Carolina running game last year. He is a big guy.
He is a big guy, but muscular, man.
Muscular. Hey, Derrick Henry in Tennessee. Arthur Smith.
Derek,
Like you do, run the ball.
Yeah, well,
I'm not saying that
Yeah.
that Mike Davis is Derrick Henry, but still, there's a little bit of similarities, I guess you could say.
yeah, for sure, man. I'll hand it to you, and I
don't
think
know.
if they can get that rushing game going, it'll take a lot of pressure off Matt Ryan. And you never know it. Anything's possible, man. That's what
Well,
we know.
I'm gonna ask
Who
you
knows?
guys-
Who
I'm
knows?
gonna ask
Maybe
you
the
guys
Dallas
right quick.
Cowboys can actually make it to the NFC Championship.
I want to ask you guys right quick, like, what is your overall feel of Atlanta right now? Because you know how sometimes when you see some teams make head coach hirings, and it feels like something that's just temporary. Like it doesn't feel long term. It feels like an emergency. We got to bring a guy in here. Let's see how this works.
Trial and error.
Man, I'll say this. If like I was saying, if they can get that running game going, I think that maybe we'll see a complete Falcons team, complete different Falcons team that makes me look, wrong in my in this offseason assessment of them addressing their needs or not.
And maybe it's going to be better for Matt Ryan when Julio's not there. He doesn't feel like he needs to force the ball to Julio, right?
True.
And then also,
That's a good. That's a good. That's a
well,
good
but
observation.
Kyle
right there.
Pitts is a rookie. He hasn't even played it down in the NFL. It's different, right? Matt Ryan's a veteran. Kyle Pitts is a rookie.
Oh, it's
And-
gonna be rough. Don't
and
trust
then
me.
also-
Kyle Pitts is gonna have some issues because he's gonna be required to block.
And here's the other thing too.
A
You
lot.
don't have to flip a coin. Is Julio going to play? Is Julio not going to play? Like how, like who am I going to run the offense through? Like who's going to be catching the ball? Like there's not going to be that anymore.
You know what? I'm gonna comment on that too because it's funny, and it all comes down to who you are. Are you a big star and how you're portrayed? But there were a lot of words around the league and whispers around the league that Julio quit. That he quit.
I mean, to me, it kind of looked like it. And one game that I recall, like it was yesterday, was the Monday Night Football game against the Green Bay Packers.
And I bring it up because Kenny Golladay got killed here, and he got killed nationally for being accused of quitting. And they were saying that there were games where he could have went out and played, but he just chose not to. And oh no, my ankle is a little tweaked or whatever. Nah, I can't go. No, this hamstring, this. It just goes to show you, when you're a superstar, you get that benefit of the doubt. I felt myself, Julio, kind of said, you know what? I'm waiting this thing out to see how this thing's gonna go. I'm chilling. But at the end of the day, quitting on the team is quitting on the team, whether you're a superstar
Or you're not.
or you're a third string guy. It's just weird to me that, and I understand Julio's a very well liked guy around the league, but stuff like this is what gives people bad views of wide receivers.
It's true, man.
About guys being prima donna guys and pouting and guys quitting. It's just me. I just noticed it. I have no issue with Julio. I just think that we've seen this twice in one offseason where wide receivers pretty much shut it down from midway of the season to the end of the season with nagging leg injuries, and it's just not a good look.
It's not. You never want to quit on a team.
One last question for you guys before we end the show. Julio Jones, what team will he be playing for next year?
Oh man. I mean, his name has been linked to. It was linked to the Titans, and then the last report I saw was that the Titans, the move to the Titans would be an actual, a very hard situation to pull
Yeah, it's
off.
unlikely.
So it's
Yeah.
unlikely to happen. So that's a good question, man. Wow.
I think it's gonna come down to who has the capital.
I
Who
think
has the draft capital out there to do it.
Just a team. Let's pick a team. If you had a guess.
Oh man, they're throwing out so many.
I would. Okay, look. How about this? What team would we like him? What team would we like to see him on?
You guys can do that too.
Okay, I would say the Patriots.
I would say
like
the Chargers.
Yeah, I would like. I mean, I think the Chargers would be actually kind of like overkill for them. But hey, man, Mike Williams
Well-
has been one of those players that Mike and Keenan Allen have
Yeah.
not been able to stay healthy, man, and they got a nice quarterback in place.
So, I mean, the team that I would like Julio Jones to be on would be the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, if that's going to happen,
No,
we don't know. More than likely, it's not going to happen. But the team I do think that's going to end up, trading for Julio Jones is going to be the Los Angeles Rams.
They're going to give away 4 first-round picks in 2027, 2028, and 2029.
Whatever they got to do, I think they're going to make the deal happen. So
yeah. So please, please, parents, make sure that you put your kids in flag football and get them a quarterback. Get them quarterback ready for the NFL, right?
Hire him a quarterback coach and everything, just like Trevor Lawrence had.
Yeah.
That's right. All right, gentlemen. Well, that's going to wrap up this edition of the East West Football Podcast. Thank you, everyone out there, for watching and listening. Catch us next Saturday as we will review the NFC North. Till then, have a great weekend. Take care. Be safe.
Peace. We had the NFC North.
That's right.